Welcome to the 902 Podcast, the official podcast of the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm Captain John Vik, and I want to thank you for tuning in. This podcast will give you an inside look at LSO with topics and guests to discuss public safety issues impacting Lancaster County. Be sure to subscribe for highlights on news, cases, and the people working for you at LSO. You can also follow us across social media by searching for @LSO Nebraska. That's @LSO Nebraska on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Welcome to episode 2 of the 902 podcast. We've got Sheriff Terry Wagner here.
Good morning.
Chief Deputy Ben Houchin.
Morning.
I'm John Vik, and we've got Jim Baird in the house from the Electronic Evidence Unit here at the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. Welcome, Jim.
Good morning.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself to get started?
I'm currently assigned to the Criminal Division as a technical investigator. We have 2 technical investigators at the Sheriff's Office, both of us assigned to the Electronics Evidence Unit. And I've been in that position for about 20 years as of February.
Awesome. So you didn't come here though for the Electronic Evidence Unit. We didn't even have an Electronic Evidence Unit when you started. So how did your career bring you into that position?
Well, I originally started my law enforcement career at the Crete Police Department and saw the applications come open for the Sheriff's Office, decided that I wanted to apply. And so I worked the first about 13 years of my career here as a patrol deputy with a 6-month stint in the courts division earlier on.
And you were a canine officer.
And I was a canine officer and been a field training officer, member of the Metro Klein Lab team, and also a member of the Tactical Response Unit.
So what was it for you about law enforcement that drew you to that career in the first place?
I grew up a cop's kid. I mean, my dad was eventually retired as an assistant chief on the Lincoln Police Department, and I was kind of always around it. My initial thing that I was going to come out of high school, though, for was computer science, and that was my original major that I was going after in college, and I decided I'd rather be a cop, and so that's what I did.
Awesome. Eventually, you got to the position that you're in today, and that's what we'll talk about a little bit with you now. The Electronic Evidence Unit, we call it the EEU for short. What is that Electronic Evidence Unit? Why do we have one?
Originally, when they created my spot in about 2003, our agency was, I think, we foresaw this becoming something in the future. We needed somebody for tech support at the office. We also knew that there would be some computers come in that would be evidence. And so we created that spot. And as it's gone along, the amount of digital evidence on cases has grown exponentially since then, and really shot up since the iPhone changed everything. Everybody started buying smartphones, and we have a lot of evidence dealing with phones in almost every case we work.
When you're in the unit today, who do you work with down there?
Our unit's composed of 2 technical investigators from the Sheriff's Office. The Lincoln Police Department has 2 investigators, and they also have a crime analyst in the forensics lab.
Walk us back to when you said you started. This originally didn't start as the Electronic Evidence Unit as we know it today. What did that look like?
Originally, my job consisted of, as far as electronic evidence, was computers. 2003, we were doing child enticement cases, child pornography cases, and so the evidence that came into our office was computers. And as time has gone along, it's more and more cell phones, and then now it's about 95 to 96% cell phones.
So, Sheriff, from your perspective, what was the impetus to make that move?
Well, I just remember then Chief Deputy Sheriff Bill Jarrett and I talking about our computer technical support was growing. We were starting to put computers in cars that needed more technical support. And then the evidence on computers. And we kind of figured it'd be a 75-25 split, 75 technical support, 25 electronic evidence analysis. And that flipped in a heartbeat. It really changed. And so we increased the number of employees in there to 2 instead of 1. And we've been able to buy some really good equipment for the unit that allows them to do the work we need them to do.
And Ben, you kind of got to see the unit grow up from a supervisory standpoint from your time in criminal.
Yes.
How did that grow from your perspective?
Oh, I would agree with Jim. You know, when the smartphones kicked off, there wasn't a case you didn't work that you weren't grabbing that cell phone and trying to get consent or doing a search warrant or doing those portions of it as they go. One of the great things with the unit that I am so happy about is us being a resource agency with it, because we have agencies all that surround us that send us their cases and their phones. We have the federal agencies, even all the way from down in Florida, Orlando, sending us up because these guys do so well and they can get the turnaround so quickly on those cases. And it's just, I mean, each year it keeps growing. And as the years go by, that is going to be one unit in the sheriff's office that will continue to grow just because out of necessity and how these phones work. And they're constantly changing and the technology is changing. And like the sheriff says, the cost, the items and the equipment we are using cost a lot of money, and it keeps changing every year. And just because the cell phones keep changing.
So Jim, people see stuff on TV, movies. This is real life electronic evidence stuff. So what kinds of cases are you actually working? Is it what we see on TV, or?
The worst thing that somebody that works in an electronics evidence unit can see is TV depiction of what we do.
Okay.
Generally, it's almost always wrong. But there's a lot that actually isn't so bad. And so we use a ton of tools now because the volume of information on a cell phone, I did 2 on one case for us. One of them was almost 200 gigs. The other one was 160. And so that kind of information, there's no way you could manually examine that. Not even a chance. We use a lot of tools. Some of the things they see on, the shows where they have data in 5 minutes, and it's like, no, the 200 gig cell phone took about 6 hours to extract, and then it took another about 6 to process before I could ever look at any items.
What types of cases are they? You talked about child enticement was kind of one of the things when the unit started. Has it grown beyond that now?
It certainly has. In fact, the majority of the cases that we're working are related to our everyday calls for service. So one of the things that we do is video systems. There's so many places with video now. I have a follow-up request today to go out to one of the convenience stores and retrieve video, and I'll provide that video then to the deputy to watch. But we're working electronic evidence on every major case for sure, and a lot of them that aren't as major as what we would class as a Part 1 crime or a homicide or robbery or something like that.
So everything from thefts all the way up to homicides and more organized crime type of stuff.
That's correct.
Okay.
Even motor vehicle homicide cases or serious motor vehicle crashes, we'll analyze those phones to see if the driver was on their phone at the time, and that's always a big question. So it's been very helpful in those cases as well.
And like you said, Jim, the more advanced some of the technology gets for the cell phone user, really the more complex information you're getting as an investigator to be able to process that information.
That's true. We, as our job also, not only as far as doing the work of doing the digital evidence, but we also have to constantly maintain a training level that's probably, year in and year out, our electronic evidence people get the most training hours because we have to.
What kind of training? You mentioned that you'd gone to school for computer science. What type of training does someone have to do to become a technical investigator in law enforcement today?
I think initially, most people, when they would come into the job today, would probably not have a lot of the training they need. Our training is all pretty focused. I did a week-long training about a month or 2 ago on Macs, just the Mac operating system. And that was a week's worth of training just on that operating system. So I'll also have training for iPhone, Android, dealing with hard drives and thumb drives and things like that.
How about the technology that you guys are using? That's changed certainly, but is it, do you plug it into a computer? What kinds of things are you guys using to actually access these?
It depends on the process that we're going to use. We do have some specific hardware tools that we use. And then we have some computer software that we literally connect the phone to the computer and we'll do an extraction that way. it's progressed a lot. In the early days, we would, image a hard drive and process the hard drive. But cell phones, we were doing some extractions which were taking pictures of the screens. And we still do a little of that, but not as much as we did back then.
I mean, I remember being in criminal with you, and that is what we did.
Yeah.
In some of the earlier days where, you would have a camera and a holder for the phone, and you would really, for some of those early phones, manually work your way through it.
That was called the projectophone.
The projectophone.
Projectophone, the forensic picture taker. And so we used that actually quite a bit. And then as the tools progressed, got better, got more expensive, but they work really well now. And so we've had good success.
Awesome. What would you say if somebody asked you, is there a memorable case that sticks out for you, or is there a, strange case?
We talked about that, and people always ask you, what's the most memorable case you ever remembered? And I think back to recent history and the Benjamin case, homicide case. In the course of the first few days of that case, we did something. I did 23 items of digital evidence in that one case, and I had phones running on different computers, and it was a big multitasking chore. But we got a lot of evidence to the investigators, and on every case, that evidence matters, and we get it to them as quickly as we can.
What do you think the future of the electronic evidence unit looks like here at the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office?
I think the sheriff said it well. I believe it was the sheriff that said it's going to grow. And I think I could certainly see the need where the police department and the sheriff's office would need to increase numbers in that lab. We do have some room for expansion in the lab now. And so that's where I see it going, is just continuing training and increasing the size of the unit.
So today, and Ben talked about some of our partnerships with other agencies. So we'll talk about those a little bit. What kind of agencies are we working with, and what type of numbers are you actually seeing for cases that you're working?
We're seeing cases from not only our two agencies, but the University Police. We've done some phones for the Omaha Police State Patrol, and then federal agencies really all around the country. In 2022, we did 916 cell phones in the lab between the four of us. 2021 was kind of an anomaly year. We did 1,160 cell phones that year. And then the year before that was around 760. So it's increasing in numbers, and the work just keeps coming in.
It's somebody's birthday today.
It is.
It is your birthday, Jim.
Yes, it is.
And
we could sing to you, but
I don't think the audience
I
would
don't
appreciate
know,
that.
sir.
No.
The reason that I knew it was Jim's birthday was because I found donuts in the break room.
Yes.
That's kind of a tradition here at the sheriff's office. So how did that even start, Sheriff?
it's been around as long as I've been around the office. When it's your birthday, you bring in treats, and treats for cops are donuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Been there.
we've had some health conscious people bring in vegetable trays and
Yeah, I snuck that into a Krispy Kreme
bagels
box
or
for you one
something,
time.
but
Yeah.
glazed donuts are cop food.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
So
Lamar's donuts were delicious this morning.
Yeah,
that's
they
for
were
sure.
very good.
good deal. It's also St. Patrick's Day. So your birthday's always been on St. Patrick's Day, I guess, because your birthday doesn't change.
It has. It's harder for me to not bring donuts in because everybody knows today's my birthday.
I suppose.
Yes.
It kind of sticks out. Sheriff, you've also come dressed for the occasion. I know that our listeners can't see this at home, but it turns out that they make is it a tactical kilt or is it a tactikilt?
No, it's a tactical kilt.
Tactical kilt.
Yes. So one of the clothing manufacturers that makes a lot of tactical clothing for law enforcement came up with this. It was sort of started out as a gag a number of years ago, where they made a tactical kilt. The FBI National Academy Associates, which is the Alumni Association for the National Academy, and 511 Tactical, which is the company that makes the kilts, came up with this idea to raise money for the charitable foundation for the National Academy Associates, and so a portion of the sales went from the kilts went to that foundation. Yeah, and I think it was $50,000 that one year. So at our annual conference, a lot of times one night will be kilt night, and you'll see a number. They've got kilts in a number of different colors: camo, black, blue. I happen to have on like a khaki camo today, or a khaki kilt today, but it's kind of fun.
Well, you're ready to go with the knife and
That's right.
the pocket knife and everything. So
Well,
it's
you know,
very functional.
It helps to create a little levity and lightheartedness in the office and let people know I don't take myself too seriously.
Well, people are even coming up to you asking you if you were going to do it yesterday. Huh?
Yeah, I was not going to, and one of the deputies said, "Are you going to wear your kilt tomorrow?" So
that's good. That's good. Well, happy birthday, Jim.
Thank you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. Just really want to thank you for taking some time with us today, Jim. We're looking forward to talking to each of our specialized units and learning a little bit more about them. But thank you for the work that you and your team do every day to make Lancaster County and really the entire country safer by a lot of the work that you guys do. So we appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
I do want to say a lot of the cases we clear now, back in the day, would not have been cleared. But with the evidence that we are getting from these phones, we're clearing a ton of cases, and it makes it so much easier for the investigators on that. So yes, thank you. And also everybody be safe out there tonight. Don't be drinking.
Yep.
Make sure you Uber, have a friend, designated driver. Make sure we're bored and that we're not giving people rides.
I think, we have a special enforcement unit out tonight, trying to keep drunk drivers off the street. So it is a large holiday, one of the major holidays that people associate with alcohol consumption. So please be careful.
Yeah, and it falling on a Friday makes it even a little bit probably more tempting to do stuff. So yeah, everybody be careful. We want to make sure everybody gets home safe.
Thanks everybody for listening today. This is the 902 podcast. Please subscribe and follow to make sure that you're listening to future episodes and updates from the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. You can also reach us on social media at LSO Nebraska or via email at lso@lancaster.ne.gov. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
If you want a challenging career, a career where you can make a difference in your life, your family's life, and the lives of those in your community, come and join the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. To learn more or to apply, visit us online at www.joinlso.com.